Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Corey C., and I'm here with two very special guests today. I'm here with team members of Power City, 121 Gigawatts, and Nuclear Nomad. How are you both today? I'm very excited to learn about this project being built on Pulse Chain, so I'm really excited to have you both here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We really appreciate being able to join you and talk a little bit about what we're building on Pulse Chain.
Absolutely. So to begin, for maybe Hexagons and Pulsians who are not familiar with Power City, who are you guys exactly?
Yeah, I'll jump in here and take that one. So we are a group of guys that came together through the Hex and Pulse Chain communities. We've been around, some of us from the beginning, and even before Hex was even born, we were fans of Richard Heart. So through that process, we came together. We just kind of clicked together and had this broad vision of, once we heard what Pulse was going to be, we knew that Pulse needed adoption in order to be successful. It's a little bit different from Hex in that way. Hex needs adoption too, don't get me wrong, but Pulse really needs use to be successful. And so we don't know what projects are coming over, but we weren't going to leave things to chance. And, we've got a great team of guys. We've got a background in everything from software, financial services, marketing, business management, project management, education. Our devs have experience with EVM chains,
Awesome.
primarily on Matic, but they were really excited to get their hands on Pulse Chain and have been doing a great job for us. So that's kind of who we are. At the moment, we're going to be an anonymous team, but we are planning on doing third-party KYC prior to launch.
Awesome. And I like how you said that it's different for Pulse Chain than Hex, because you can't have a blockchain that doesn't have development on it. Hype only goes so far. And especially if we're in a bear market, I don't know if we are, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but if we do go into an extended downtrend, the longevity of a project is based off its utility and its growth, not on hype. So I like that you brought that up. So let me ask you this. What is Power City and where does it fit in Pulse Chain?
Sure, I'll take that if you don't mind. So Power City is intended to be a broader ecosystem of DeFi and metaverse projects that will be launched by a central treasury. So far, we've announced about 4 projects in our Telegram channel. And we were kind of spoken around a couple of future things. We have a long roadmap that we have in mind, but right now we're focusing on the blocking and tackling that needs to be done on the chain, some basic needs. The central treasury will be, our first project that will launch a bridge. Nodes as a service will come sometime after that, and then a auto compounding front end for liquid loans, allowing us to automatically basically facilitate some of the strategies that team has been coming up with in their community.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're excited because we saw the opportunity, like Nomad said, that we want to use Pulse Chain to its fullest potential. And we might as well build the tools that we want to use as fans of the chain and participants in the community. So we believe that these projects will, hopefully add significant value to the community and developers on Pulse Chain, and not directly compete with any official projects that are being launched by Richard Heart.
I agree, and I'm glad that you brought up that not to compete with projects that are built by Richard Heart, especially with a young blockchain. I'm not sure if the best method would be for different projects trying to outcompete one another on the platform instead of creating more of a collaborative ethos, especially for the survival of the chain. I just feel like if it became too competitive in the beginning, it would lead to too much tribalism and fragmentation. So I'm with you about that 100%. And I'm glad you guys are utilizing liquid loans, because Liquid Loans is a great application. I've interviewed members of them numerous times, and I'm more than likely use them myself as my first DeFi protocol that I'll use. And I'm very excited for that as well. So kudos to you guys for implementing that as well. So
Yeah, yeah. As we said, I mean, we're excited about Pulse Chain. We really want to see the success of the chain, and to do that, we need lots of great projects that are great people that are trying to do stuff that's in the best interest of everybody, of the chain, of all that stuff. And so, I mean, we want to support the projects that are building that as best we can.
absolutely. Now, what is it an OHM or OHM fork, and why is this different from the others?
Sure. The central treasury that I was speaking about is based on the Olympus DAO code. And Olympus DAO created a fantastic mechanism that really came to fruition over the past several months in DeFi. I guess you could have called the last several months DAO season of sorts, because a lot of these copies were being launched everywhere. But we believe in the underlying technology because it helps create a central treasury of value, and it aligns a lot of the value that is gathered by the treasury with the goals and the needs of the stakers and the people who bond with the treasury. So we believe the challenges that a lot of these other projects have run into were just unsustainable, expectations and implementations of, crazy high APYs and whatnot. And you can see a lot of the same projects that are already starting to pivot in the direction that we had originally wanted to go in, which is a much more sustainable, APY being paid out to the stakers of the token, a longer rebasing period that will, calculate those rewards or the yield that's given to the stakers, and focusing on bonding with assets that will help build the treasury, not as a stable coin or store of value per se, but to focus on things that will generate yield for the treasury. So the goal is to build up a treasury that not only rewards people who are helping launch Power City and participate in the process, but also to then fund the building and launching of all the ecosystem applications that we're looking to build, right? So the treasury is the central place where we share the revenues and fees generated by each of these applications, and we can launch the new tools and basically continually expand this city as we go. Right, and we want the citizens of Pulse City to really feel like they are part of something big, because we have some really big plans. So
Go ahead.
the good thing is that for the Olympus DAO, the original code has already been audited, but we will be getting a final audit once the treasury is up and running on Pulse Chain. As Nomad mentioned, we will be doing third-party KYC. There will be a time-locked team allocation. Those details are still being worked out, and multi-signature security on the treasury. We very much want to be above board, transparent, good actors in the community here, since there's been so many other, opposite of that in other chains recently.
Oh, absolutely. So far, what I've read on your Medium post, and I'm going to put that in the link in the description. This is a very, very, very ambitious project. It's a very dynamic project. There are multiple components of it. It's not like you're focusing on one thing. You're focusing on multiple different things, and you're also focusing. What I also appreciate, and I said this in my last podcast with Hodpril, that the future is multi-chain technology, whether people like it or not. And I know it goes against a lot of the tribalism in cryptocurrency, which leads me into my next question to you. Why are you guys bridging to Avalanche and Phantom specifically?
I can take this one, Doc.
Sure.
So we're aware that there's a number of bridges that have announced, and Richard has one in particular. Everybody that we know of has focused on bridging to Ethereum because that has the most value. And so if we want value to get on chain, Ethereum is a logical choice. However, Richard has also said that one of the big setbacks right now for Pulse Chain is fiat on-ramps. And so what we want to do, and we feel is a great opportunity, is to decrease friction for fiat on-ramping and off-ramping. And there's increased friction if you try to go through Ethereum due to the fees.
Mhm.
And so we are aware that there's a number of exchanges all over the world that you can use Avalanche or Phantom directly to their network for the super low fees that Avalanche and Phantom have. Both of those blockchains have fees in the order of cents, and usually those transactions are complete within seconds. And
Absolutely.
so our vision is to decrease the friction for on-ramping or off-ramping to fiat by bridging off of Pulse to Avalanche or Phantom, and then to a centralized exchange, because that's our only option for fiat right now.
Of course.
But we want to get new money in through other mechanisms that isn't going to punish people with the Ethereum fees.
Mhm. Absolutely. 100%. You know, you yeah, I always say this, you don't want to, a lot of developers don't build on Ethereum specifically because, you know, the fees, you take out a mortgage to make a fee, to make a transaction. So let me ask you this, what are nodes as a service and why are blockchain nodes so important?
Sure. Blockchain nodes provide access to the network data to users, developers, and dApps. So if you want to read what's on the blockchain, the transaction history, balances, and things, you need to access a node. So blockchains, while validators or miners are the ones who process all the transactions, and they're the ones who are compensated for performing that function in a secure manner, the nodes are the unsung heroes of the blockchain, serving up that data in a rapid response time, healthy environment, as far as nodes being kept current, having the most current version of the network, having the most current version of all the transactions, and being able to offer that up for an adaptive read on the fly, right? The more nodes that are kept current with the network, the better data and response times for the dApps. And if all the contracts are hitting the same nodes at the same time, you get slower response times. So there's two sides to this project. We want to allow the community to be able to create and maintain nodes so that those nodes can then be rented to developers and dApps who need to access the data. So from a fraud perspective, from someone who wants to create a node, it's very similar to the idea of Strongblock or Thor nodes or Power nodes, where you are helping build some of the hardware on the network and keep it current and make sure that the hardware is always up and available and always up to date with the latest software updates and so on. So there's a certain amount of maintenance that goes into that, and to compensate them, they earn a steady yield from those nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while validators are the ones who will be earning part of the transaction fees on Pulse, for our nodes on Power City, the people who create and maintain them will earn a steady income to help encourage the health of the network. And then on the flip side, we'll see for developer access and for dApps, they can purchase or rent capacity of our nodes based on the volume that they need to access for their tools. Very similar to the same kind of model you see from Infura on the Ethereum network. The idea that, based on how many requests you are performing a day, you basically rent, a portion of a node or multiple nodes to support your applications. So we're pairing the two together. Where these other node projects, have had to pivot because so many of them have failed, is that they were generating APY, but they didn't have any actual revenue model supporting them. We want to create a real service that will help developers build on the platform and be able to really expand into more DeFi and more dApps running on Pulse Chain. And we believe this is a good way to partner both the community and the developers together in that process.
Absolutely.
Eventually, this could expand to other chains, right? So it doesn't have to be just Pulse Chain. If we do well here, we can go on to any other EVM compatible chain and provide nodes there.
That's great. I love the emphasis on multi-chain, on the multi-chain ethos that you are creating. The people don't realize that the more something is multi-chain, the more they nullify and destroy and dismantle the barriers between different communities. And I think that's very important, especially for a young blockchain like Pulse Chain, to be able to perpetuate in a lot of different ways. So in that respect, then, what is an auto compounder and how does it apply to Pulse Chain?
Sure, this is one that's very exciting to me, and might take a while to build out, but we're really interested in figuring out how to make this happen. An auto compounder in general will take your staking in DeFi, whatever kind of DeFi project it is, many times is yield farming for liquidity providing, right? So you stake your LP token somewhere and you earn some kind of reward as a result of that. An auto compounder will claim those rewards periodically and then restake it so that you're continually building the rewards that you're earning over time, automatically compounding that to get a higher APY, in the end. So we're still in our design for this, but we want to create a custom front end to Liquid Loans that would help automate what the community has been calling the haunted and hot pill strategies, which focus on trying to leverage your Pulse in your wallet to build a larger bag of Pulse or to increase your loan token bags and increase the income you're getting from staking that and so on. Now, the reason this is possible is Liquidity, the code that Liquid Loans was forked from, allows anyone to create a custom front end, and Liquid Loans will do the same. So our front end will automate the tracking of the Pulse price versus the collateralization ratio versus the current loan balance to automatically borrow more USDL to buy more Pulse as price appreciates. And we believe this will help users automatically build larger bags of Pulse or loan over time. And the more people who adopt these strategies, the larger impact just this process alone can have on the value of those two assets.
Absolutely.
And theoretically, the same principles and the same process here could be then extended to liquidity providing for rewards on PulseX, through a slightly different form of automation. But there are many things in DeFi that could be automated through an auto compounder, and we believe there's a great opportunity to, again, encourage good behaviors in the system, which is to not sell, to leave your assets in place and have them working for you, but in relatively lower risk fashion, right? We're not looking to have you leveraged and get liquidated in a heartbeat.
Of course.
But the idea is to do it in a responsible manner and hopefully have your Pulse working for you versus having it sitting in your wallet, waiting for you to watch the charts and be weak and sell like we all are. We're all emotional, right? And we hope that these tools will help you kind of put this stuff to work and get it out of mind, and really help the system instead.
That's fantastic. I really like that because I actually have the different strategies, actually the infographics on my phone. And I'm not going to lie, as a person who is very, very new to DeFi, not that I'm new in the respect, I know what DeFi is, I know the different protocols, but I don't really use DeFi because I've seen the inherent risks in utilizing them regarding liquidations or regarding exploits. So I'm really appreciative that you guys are creating an auto compounder that implements those strategies, because if if and when, which I most likely will use Liquid Loans hands down. I like how that's automatically integrated into your platform, that I can utilize these strategies, because a lot of people are going to try to mimic these strategies and, for lack of a better word, screw up because they're not familiarized with the intricacies of the protocol. And I think it's amazing that you're making it more efficient for different holders in the Pulse Chain community. So again, kudos to you guys. This is for what I've read so far and what you guys are telling me, this is a very amazing project and a very forward-thinking project. So what about, it seems like you guys are literally everywhere in a very, very, very good way. What about the metaverse and NFTs?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. This is more of a roadmap type item.
Mhm.
So we have a very long-term view on what we're building. As you said, it's very ambitious. We've got a solid team, a number of developers, a decent-sized team. It's not just the two of us. So our initial focus is on the other things that we've talked about, of providing kind of like infrastructure to help the chain.
Okay.
However, we're also, there's a number of us on the team that are also very creative, and as you just mentioned, we're very forward thinking. And so some of the stuff that excites us is some of what's happening in the meta world and the NFT world. And there's a lot of discussion around it, and everybody's kind of got their position on it. However, what we see happening in the crypto space is all of these communities forming and relationships being formed.
Absolutely.
And those are international.
Yes, they are.
So what we're excited about doing is providing environments where people who have a relationship with one another can continue to experience a deepening of those relationships in different ways that wouldn't happen organically because we're not in the same city, right? You can't just go hang out at a coffee shop or a bar or whatever.
Of course.
And so we're excited about the metaverse in that way, that we can continue to interact and deepen our relationships, like I said, in the ways that you normally would. And as we said, we've got a very diverse team with a lot of backgrounds. And so this is a very long-term vision, but we're throwing around ideas around like virtual concerts that you can hang out together, different business type meetings that you can have together in kind of the virtual reality space, different ways that we can innovate on education. There's a lot of interesting hands-on stuff that you can do that way. And then in terms of the NFTs, we kind of view those in lots of ways. I mean, most people are familiar with the artwork, and we'll probably have some of that, like skins and different fun stuff that you can do in the meta. But they're also kind of like keys. And so they give you the ability to do things or exchange digital products or real world products. You know, there's just a whole new world coming for NFTs that I don't think a lot of people have understood. A lot of people just look at as you know, as a picture of a monkey, a JPEG, right? But we think there's a lot more to it. Lots of different ways that it can be used that actually have real world value. In addition to the fun stuff like skins and different things that you can use it for. So we're really excited about bringing that down the line. We've got some initial visions for some games that the community can play together, like racing through the city. We've got a city that we're developing, and all kinds of fun different games. So that's a very broad vision, but I mean, we're here for the long term. So some of this stuff might be 5 years down the road. We don't know, but that's okay, because we're not here for a short little bang. We're here for the long haul.
No, and that's fantastic. I appreciate that. Like I said in the beginning, longevity is what allows a blockchain to prosper, and a project specifically to prosper. And I agree with what you're saying about NFTs. I got this quote yesterday from Blockworks, which is a cryptocurrency news outlet on Twitter, that I believe it's less than I think they said 0.04% of the world population owns NFTs. So NFTs, the NFT space is very, very early. And you're right, there is this stigma that NFTs are nothing more than subpar art that are being traded for millions of dollars. And to some extent, that is true. But there is a place, in my opinion, regarding the future of NFTs, in my personal opinion, in a lot of different avenues. So I'm sure this is the question people are most excited about as well. The last question: how will Power City be launched? How will the project be launched? And will there be a sacrifice?
Sure, we're very excited to announce here on your channel
Thank you.
that Power City will be
for the first
having
time.
a sacrifice.
Thank you.
It
Well, what?
Yep.
Will it have a sacrifice?
Yes, it will.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Doc. I spoke over you. My apologies.
No worries. So we're looking to launch Sacrifice later in February, so later on this month.
Awesome.
The details will be announced both in our Telegram at t.me/PowerCityIO. We will have a website launching hopefully this weekend. We, been focusing on a lot of different fronts right now, trying to, get things ready. So you'll recognize when the details of a sacrifice are announced. A lot of the structure is very similar to what we've seen for Pulse Chain and Pulse X. So a lot of the same concepts are there. We'll have, the first 3 days at a flat rate. Days 4 and beyond go up 5% daily. There will be a volume bonus up to 2x, and the list of the tokens that we're going to be recognizing as sacrifice on the website once time comes. But we're looking at Ethereum, Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain when the time comes. Another question we know a lot of people were probably wondering is, will Hex be recognized as a sacrifice? The answer is yes. Now, just to be for full disclosure, we don't like selling Hex here at Power City. Now, maybe the entity that will control the sacrifice wallet might not like selling Hex either. So no expectations of benefit or profit from the work of others, right? As we keep hearing. But, this is how we feel about it, and we hope others will agree with that.
That's awesome. And I really appreciate that you are announcing it here. I'm very humbled by that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the launch of the sacrifice happening. And I really want to do a follow-up in the future with with Power City, because this is a very, very ambitious project. It's in it for the long haul, and I'm sure there will be massive updates quarterly or monthly, and I really want to be part of it. So if you guys ever want to do a follow-up interview, this was very, very informative, and I really appreciate it.
We'd love that.
We'd love to. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you both.
Thanks, Corey.
Absolutely.